you guess what we're going to do today? Oh yeah. Look what just arrived. We're gonna be installing this guy today, hopefully. So this is the IAG oil pan for the EJ. This is the street version. So you can see the baffles are a little bit different versus the competition. But again, should still be miles better than the factory one, which again, we'll pull out here in a few minutes. But yeah, kind of curious to see how this thing works. Pretty solid construction, CNC machined. Big fan of the baffle, obviously. More capacity, I think it's about 30% more than the factory one. Got a fitting here also for if you want to use a oil temp sensor. So that is super, super nice. The IAG pan does also incorporate these, they call them cooling fins. I'll be honest, I would have rather have seen them just make the oil capacity larger and get rid of the fins. If you're serious about cooling your oil, just do an external oil cooler. I feel like that's going to yield the best results either way. But still, kind of a cool, neat design. But again, I would have preferred to just have more oil and get rid of the fins altogether. That's just me though. I also do love the location for the drain plug there, which is right on the bottom, which again, in theory, should get rid of a lot more oil, right, when you're draining it versus the factory one, which is on the side a little bit. So again, very nice quality piece here, all CNC'd up here. Now, this one does incorporate the O-ring around the oil pan here. I've personally have never run these before. I've always been a RTV guy with any pans really. So I don't know, we'll see how it works. Hopefully no leaks. Obviously they do their testing, which is, you know, awesome. So yeah, curious to see how that holds up. And honestly, I have had the oil pan on this thing out before already. I already have the oil pickup and also the windage tray. So to be fair, I'm very excited. The fact that I won't have to mess with RTV going forward, hopefully. Again, fingers crossed, that's gonna be super nice. So anytime you do have to drop the oil pan for whatever reason, I would say maybe just replace the O-ring. I have seen it on their website. You can buy it separately, which is gonna be super nice. So yeah, this is what we're gonna be installing today. Again, such a beautiful piece. It's almost a crime to have it just sit under the car. No one's ever gonna see it. But very, very nice. Some Black Friday deals, so I took advantage finally. Also bought some tools here. Got the Lisle little razor blade scraper. So again, just to clean up the surfaces when we get the old one out, which we'll show you guys here in a bit. And then we got this gasket separator, also from Lisle. Here are the part numbers. I'll list them down below if you guys want to, again, buy them for yourselves. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how this is going to work. Hopefully decent. Again, I've had the oil pan out once before. It was a bit of a pain, but just take your time with it. Try not to, you know, mar any surfaces, especially the aluminum bottom. Honestly, if I destroy the factory pan, it's not going to be the end of the world because we're going to replace it anyways. But yeah, again, it comes with all the O-rings needed, the hardware. Here's the little spacer for the oil pickup. So that's obviously the main part right there. And then the two little support brackets. This is the hardware also for the oil pan itself. So I think we have some longer ones in the rear. Yeah, this is the front. So this is the rear. And you can see there's more material over here versus on the side. So again, all the hardware included. It does use the factory oil drain plug crush washer, which is right there. They do include one in there. I do have a bunch anyways, but that is nice that they're gonna use the same one. So again, keeping it simple. There's the drain plug itself, which is cool. And then here's a little plug if you're not gonna be using a sensor. They obviously do include the plug also, which I will say is not the norm with other pans. Not with our shade, they also make incredible pans. Got some new oil, obviously. Got some of these long guys, hopefully it'll reach everything, we'll see. These are a bit of a pain. I do have to basically lift the engine up a little bit, a couple inches, to get clearance to get to these back ones, if I remember correctly. But yeah, let's get going here. And then just first things first here, we're gonna have to take out the top mount if you got one. And then just the pitch mount, I believe, under here. So you can see I already took the blow-off valve off there, so I'm just gonna leave it hanging, take out the bolts, this one up here as well, and then undo the throttle body connectors here. Mine are a little gross, I'm gonna have to clean that up a little bit. And then obviously the one there for the turbo itself. And that should be enough to get the intercooler out of the way. I think I may have to undo this bracket too, if I remember correctly. Gonna have to wiggle it around, let's see. Okay, there goes the coupler. Bam, wow, that actually came out way nicer than I thought. It's putting it back on that's a pain. So let's get to that pitch mount there. So there you go. Just gonna leave the pitch mount like that. Just undo the nut and bolt. They're two 14 millimeters. Like this. So just put them aside. And again, I just kind of moved it up here myself, just kind of give it some clearance. Again, you're gonna have to lift the engine up a couple of inches. So hopefully nothing too wild. I don't think anything else needs to be unplugged. Here's the thing, once you start jacking it up, you'll find out real quick. So hopefully it's just that. All right, so now let's get her up in the air and yeah, start making some room for taking off the factory oil pan. But that should do it up here. All right, so we are under here. So again, we're gonna have to undo quite a few things here. We're gonna have to drain the oil. I'm gonna remove the oil filter. We're gonna have to take off the header. So it's gonna be some 14 millimeters up here. We're gonna have to undo the nut for the engine mounts, one on each side. That way we can just lift the whole engine up once everything's unbolted. But yeah, drain the oil, the header, unbolt it from the up pipe over here. And again, that should give us enough clearance to then start doing the oil pan bolts. I believe they're 10 millimeters, if I remember correctly. And but yeah, for right now, let's just start taking things off. Again, the header, and then just the nuts for the motor mounts, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so here is where we're at. The manifold is off now. I did remove also the nut from the engine mounts on both sides. Just gonna have the O2 over here hanging out. Not ideal, but it'll do for now. Here's a ground, I believe. This, let's see here, I'll take you guys. This thing always gives me the business with the up pipe. It rubs. Would it be a terrible idea to maybe cut it a little bit? Because look at that, it's like rubbing. It's kind of that. Installing this last one here, always such a pain in the rear. I don't know, I gotta figure something out eventually, but for now, just kind of, I don't know, kind of just have to like muscle it in there, wrestle it in, I don't know, whatever. But again, we're just draining the oil right now, and we'll do those 10 millimeters around the pan here soon. So yeah, 10 millimeter all around. Again, the ones in the rear, that's where we're gonna have to lift the engine up a little bit. Hopefully it's not too much of a pain. And after that, it's just a matter of starting to get in there and prying it however we can. Again, just be careful not to mar any of the surfaces. That's not ideal. But it's just a lot of stuff all the way around. I've seen people actually take out the motor mounts. I'm praying I don't have to do that because this one's not a big deal. It's right here. The back one, I've had to do it once when I did the engine mounts. What a pain in the ass that was. It took me forever to tighten it because you don't have a lot of clearance. Everything's in the way. You know, if you undo the nut and then just pull the motor out, not, you know, super easy to get to, but when it's in the subframe here in the car, oh, huge pain. So hopefully I don't have to do any of that. But again, I'm going to finish draining the oil here. I'm going to start undoing the 10 millimeters. I'm going to leave one over here in the front. Actually, it doesn't matter because it's all RTV'd anyway, so it shouldn't just drop on my head. Never mind, scratch that. Yeah, we'll start doing that here in a sec. All right, so we have the engine slightly propped up. You can see the gap there between the engine mounts. Oh, here's the part that gets a little sketchy. So I put this pry bar there. Again, with the intention that it shouldn't drop. I only have the jack, no jack stand. But the idea is to get enough clearance to reach the back bolts here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them. All the other ones have already been removed. You can kind of see them. Oof, yeah. They're not super fun. We'll see if we can get maybe a 1/4 inch 10 millimeter with a wobbly, and see if I can get to them there back there. Let's see. Oh, my battery's about to die. But check it out. We got the pan separator here. Oh my gosh. What a pain in the butt. So this little tool I bought, honestly, don't bother with it because there's not a lot of room to really get it under anything. Oh my God. So I ended up just prying with a pry bar. This one right here, if you're interested. Yay, Harbor Freight. Just getting in between the engine mount and the lip of the oil pan. And that ended up doing it there for me. I'll have to again go through, clean everything. I'm gonna have to take off the pickup here to add the those spacers. But for right now, I just wanna kind of let it drip a little bit. There's the windage tray from Killer B. Whew. There you go. Sorry about the awkward angle. But yep, next step will be to just clean everything out and prepare it for the new pan. We'll take this off here in a little while. I'm gonna let everything drip, and I need to change the battery on this thing. It's about to die. But at least we got the old pan out. There it is. Alrighty, so here's took off the oil pickup, and I basically cleaned the surface as much as I could. I took my sweet time with a razor blade, and I just finished it off with some just brake cleaner, essentially parts cleaner. We're gonna have some leakage there, but again, well, before we actually do the install, I'll go through it and clean it one more time. But that's essentially what it's gonna look like for now. I'm gonna let it kind of, again, it's still dripping a bit. Maybe just do that for now. It's kind of dripping a little bit. I just don't want it to get in the flywheel and clutch area. But, oh my God. here's the pickup, which again, this was when IAG first started making them. They now have like the version 2, which you'll notice it's got the IAG logo here. This one does not, but again, it was one of their quote unquote version 1, right? One of the earlier models, which again looks fine. Here's the slight concerning piece. The oil ring, or the O-ring, sorry. Let me just do that. It almost looked like it was, I got most of the crap out of here. There was like some debris, if you will, but it almost looked like the O-ring was starting to fall apart, which again, you can kind of see it over here, but I don't know how good the camera's picking it up. But a bit concerning, to say the least. Either way, I'm going to pull that one out, replace it. I think the kit comes with new ones anyways. But yeah, I wasn't happy to see that. No, and no shavings. There was no RTV in the screen. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and really clean the heck out of this thing before we put it back in. Oh, but really quick, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get the oil pan. I'm going to mock it up. I'm praying it should, but I am hoping that there's no info out there about it clearing the my header. It's an AFE header, so it's not very popular. So I'm going to mock it up, just make sure everything clears, and go from there. If everything looks good, I'm going to let it drip a little bit more, and then we'll kind of clean everything up and start putting things back together here. But I'll clean this guy up here pretty good too in a sec. Okay, the O-ring is on. I gotta say, it was a royal pain in the butt because it literally feels like it's too long. So I took forever to get it on, but I finally got it on. The tip I would give you guys here is make sure the little indentations, line those up first, and then kind of get the O-ring nice and in there. You'll notice it feels like it's almost like it seats inside of the groove. You'll know what I'm talking about when you actually do it. So do the little bumps, the little curves where the bolts are first, and then you're gonna have some excess to play with. So what I did is, again, line up the little curves first, and then on the straight parts, then kind of start crushing it in. How I did it is I started on the outside and then just kind of moving my way in. But again, if you're doing this, I was about to say, like, is this thing too long? Let's see if the camera can pick it up. But it does feel like it's too long when you're first doing it. So, oh my gosh, just be mindful of that. But it is set. I'm gonna work on this thing here next. But again, just a little tip if you're doing this. All right, so here's where we're at now. Everything's clean for the most part. Still leaking back here. God, just nonstop. But the pickup is in. You can see the spacer there. Hopefully the camera's getting it. Please, please, please. You're going into soft aluminum here at the engine block. Do these by hand first. I still need to torque them down. And fun fact, the longer ones go in the front. Here, these two bolts, longer ones in the front. Slightly shorter ones are going to be these ones in the back. And again, I had them mixed up because these were fully, I don't want to say fully tight, but you could tell I was hitting something. And those still play up and down, so clearly they were too long. So the slightly shorter ones are these two. Again, the little support bracket. The longer ones are the ones up here. So there you go. Again, torque it all down. Highly, highly recommend doing it by hand first. And I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right, it's not even, it's just finger tight, but solid. And I really cleaned out the screen there as well. Some brake cleaner. But that's essentially the pickup. Just torque it down. Again, all new O-rings everywhere. Also, the kit also does come with 2 new O-rings for the dipstick here. So these black ones are the new ones. Oh my gosh, the ones I pulled out of the car, these kind of like orangey red color, but again, these are the old ones. So also replace those. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and give the surface one more wipey all around. You can see we got some oil drippage there again still. Gonna give it one more, again, just clean it up one more time. And let's get the oil pan mocked up here and go from there. So here's kind of what I'm doing with the back 4 5mm hex with a swivel. If you can, I highly recommend, this is a 3/8, it's barely fitting. Try to get a 1/4 inch, that way you can basically squeeze it here. But I got 2 in their finger loose. But my God, what a pain in the butt. I also ended up disconnecting, not entirely, but these 2 nuts on the transmission crossmember to give me a tiny bit more clearance. Again, you can kind of see the gap here. Please watch your fingers when you're doing this. Oh my gosh, let me try to get those last 4 in and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so here's where we're at. Everything is torqued on the oil pan. Again, the rear 4 are a pain in the butt to get to. Again, the more clearance you can get on here, the better. The oil pan's already gonna sit lower, and I haven't even lowered the engine. Oh my gosh, but again, here's where we're at. Everything's bolted on the oil pan itself. O-rings are good, the dipstick is in. Everything is torqued to spec. Now let's work on, let's go manifold. Yeah, let's try the manifold here next. Let's start buttoning everything back up here. Manifold is on. What a pain in the rear it is. Oil pan is in. Connected to the up pipe. I did end up making a small modification to one of these studs. And it actually worked so much better. I cut it right as the threads were starting, so gives you a little bit more clearance, and now it's actually not rubbing against the out pipe. Honestly, just get a manifold, V-band this connection, and don't worry about anything else, honestly. But again, for now, little alteration, let's call it. But it fits so much better, and again, hopefully the idea there is no rubbing. And I cut myself pretty bad, but it's okay, stop bleeding, so we'll leave it. Okay, so everything's on. The only thing now left to do is going to be to drop the engine, well, you know, on the transmission. Hopefully the studs line up, and we'll bolt those back on. Knock on wood, this thing did not move an inch. But again, just be very, very careful. If you have a transmission jack, like a mechanical one, not a hydraulic one, also, again, might just, again, to give you peace of mind, or put some jack stands under there. But again, I was not really messing with it, other than the 4 again, but you hear any creak, you get out of there. So again, we're back, just about done actually. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the engine, tighten up the nuts, torque them down to spec, and yeah, go back up and put on the intercooler and such. But yeah, and then we'll fill her up as well, obviously. But it's looking pretty nice under here. What do you guys think? Not too bad. All right, let's see if so disgusting. If they line up, if not, we got some pry bars. Nice and easy here. Whoa! All right, and okay, cool. That is lined up. Here's my process headband. What are we looking at over here? Looks lined up as well. Nice. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Nice. Okay, well, that's the hard part. Well, knock on wood. Let's lower her down all the way. Such a weird sounding. Yeah. All right, we are off the jack entirely. And get this out of the way. Cool, now let's tighten that up. And I do have to torque down the transmission once also, since I loosened those for the cross member down here to get more clearance. But yeah, almost done. Whew. So allegedly this should take about 30% more than factory. I think just shy of 6 quarts, 5.85, somewhere around there. Oh, right, I'm just checking for leaks. Don't see anything right off the bat. Again, hope that O-ring, I'm sure AIG has done their testing, obviously. And I think they use that pin on the time attack cars. So I'm sure that O-ring should be just fine as long as I did everything properly. Again, no leaks from what I can see. Ooh, let's continue filling her up. All right, well, the oil's starting to register on the dipstick right at the bottom. But keep in mind, the car's still on the ramps. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the putting the intercooler and up here, just getting everything bolted down. We'll get it off the ramps. Ugh. Still no oil. That's good. I also did make a mess under here, so. But again, as long as there's nothing super obvious. It's nice and dry. Cool, cool. Well, we are done. Check the level. Oil levels are looking fine. Oil levels, I can't talk anymore. Everything is buttoned back up. And yeah, just make sure there's no leaks. I'm gonna continue to drive it here and there. Just carefully. I did put the cover back on underneath the car. And it seems like it's almost hitting the oil pan. I may cut it out so it's a little bit bigger, at least where the fins are, if that makes sense. I need another shower. I'm all gross. But we are done, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get rid of that oil. Check the levels, make sure there's no leaks. Whew, tools are semi put away, but that will do it. Yeah, we're done. We're done. Let's go for a drive. Make sure there's no oil leakage, drippage anywhere. But we're gonna call it. Heck yeah, we are all done.